All right. All good. Let's just start with the final talk, a final workshop for the day. And today we have Ganesh. I'll give a little introduction about him, and then I'll let him take the stage. Ram is the founder and CEO of CyberEye. He has been building intelligence into cybercrime and security investigations for organizations since 2015, almost 10 years. Awesome. He has developed innovative solutions for detecting and preventing cyber threats, especially into the domains of IoT, space drones, and Industry 4.0. Right? Very dangerous man standing right next to me. Got to be very careful from him. So let's buckle up for an immersive workshop designed for us to enhance to enhance our open source intelligence skills. This workshop provides a technical guide to uncover hidden connections and expand investigative horizons using advanced OSINT techniques and tools. So we'll have a hands-on experience, there'll be a lot of demos, and here we'll be able to sharpen our blades with respect to OSINT even further. Please give it up for Ram.
Thanks a lot. Hope I'm audible in the back. Yeah.
Should I increase the volume even further?
I think this should be fine, right? Yeah. Let me know at any point of time if the backbenchers don't hear anything from me. Yeah. And first of all, thanks a lot for being here. I'm really overwhelmed. This is my first workshop at DEFCON, although this is not my first time at DEFCON. So since I do a lot of work with law enforcement, defense, and others, I could do that before, but lucky for me and lucky for Recon Village, and really honored that for the opportunity at Recon Village this time. And I love Recon Village guys. I have been following their work since long time. So just to understand the audience dynamics here, how many of you are new to open source intelligence, OSINT? Okay, a bit number. And any of you from investigations background? Yeah. I think probably I'm assuming that most of you are a bit familiar with OSINT, open source intelligence aspect, and of that part is what I'm getting from here. Right. Thanks a lot. Sorry, let me connect this. All right. So this talk primarily comes from more than I think I have been working in investigations and intelligence for about now 12 years now, and although through my company I have been doing it for 9 years odd, but so this is an opportunity for me also to share to the community of all the learnings, years of learning from my working with law enforcement, with private investigations as well. And just to quickly give a brief, so as I already told, I also have been doing a lot of community work with law enforcement. I built something called State Law Enforcement Center of Excellence on Cyber as well. And I also founded something called Law Enforcement CISO Council. This is all community work. It's a pro bono work that I do for law enforcement just to ensure that I keep the bad guys out. So, and also I'm a member of the UN Convention Against Cyber Crimes, which recently got go ahead from UN as well. And so just quickly, so if you don't carry any laptop or any kind of a device also, that's absolutely fine. Most of the instructions and all, you can just scan the QR code and couple of instructions and all. I will also be sharing this presentation with you guys post this talk. Couple of disclaimers also before going through certain aspects in this talk. So you can just scan this, which has a bit brief of common tools and setting up instructions if you want to follow through the workshop as well in more engaging way. But otherwise, you can just follow through the presentation and just understand the art of the pivoting part, which I'm going to share anyway. Yeah. So going forward, so just a bit brief on how the entire workshop is going to be, and I will be definitely sharing a lot of stuff around how it's not only about the pivoting between methodologies, between identifiers. I'll also do a lot of pivoting between various tools over a period, which I found really helpful in a lot of investigations as well, and which worked, which didn't work, which are emerging, which are very promising. All these kind of aspects also I'll be sharing in this talk as well. So I'll just touch upon, if you look at the talk title as well, right, the art of pivoting in OSINT investigations. I will exactly reverse and go about, first I'll just touch upon what do we mean by investigations and what exactly we look for, and then we'll go about OSINT and its relevance in the investigations, and then we'll go about pivoting and pivoting with various tools, how we will be able to do that, and then we will also go about how the connection between all these identifiers are and how it's an art in itself. So definite disclaimer before going forward, none of the tools that I'm presenting here are by no means we are any part of it, or we are not promoting any of those commercials or anything. Just that over period, whichever tools that we identified and felt is really helpful in terms of using this pivoting techniques, those are the ones which I'm sharing, and I hold no responsibility for any of the actions that you take, guys. Sorry for that. And then definitely this is for purely education purposes, which I have to say as part of code of conduct. Yeah, but at the same time, in the entire workshop session, there might be some PII of few people you might know, few people you might not, and few things which you might try. And I am really sorry if any particular PII is personally identifiable information is shared, and I hope you don't misuse that, guys. I trust DEFCON attendees. Yeah. All right. So what do I mean by investigations, and what typically, these days, every thing that we do online, right? So it has a trace around, I think right now it's about $8 trillion industry to identify what you're doing, what you're, doing on a day-to-day lives, right? So what, from general investigation perspective, what we look for. So definitely one of the key aspect in investigations is that identifiers, or we can call it as indicators of crime, indicators of compromise. It could be usernames, email addresses, IP, phone numbers, physical addresses, bank accounts, kind of stuff. And then we also look for a lot of digital footprint as well, like be it the social activity of users, and then all this entire talk I'll be talking about a couple of key investigations that we ran on transnational organized crime networks, and also at the same time we also did a lot of this data brokers cases around. So one of the key things which helped us solve most of these cases is definitely the techniques which I'll be briefing in this session as well. And other than this digital footprint, which also like the kind of activities that a lot of these criminals do online, forums or emails and communications, files or device fingerprints. And then there will always be infrastructure part of it, like the hosting providers or SSL, TLS certificates, servers, domain registration, are cloud providers or cloud services that these guys use, or VPNs or proxies. So these are some of the things which we look for in investigations, right? And then we also look for financial information or financial trial, and like typically bank records, crypto wallets, or payment platforms or e-commerce data. These are varied. There are, see, at any point of time in whatever you will be looking at in this workshop, there will be a lot of ways in approaching to that problem, and there will always be a lot of ways in how you identify this information. Hope it is not that too much of crowd here. So yeah. So one of the things that which we try, gathering these might be, I might follow an approach, and you guys might follow a different approach. It's not that this is the only approach that we follow, but again we have another set of things like technical indicators, like malware samples, hashes, exploit kits, network traffic patterns, IOCs as well. And then we do have historical data, like everything. Probably we might have a historical record of what you guys did 10 years ago as well, or while you're at college, or while you're even at school, probably. So everything must be stored somewhere, right, in internet. So that is something how to find such kind of information as well. And then you have historical WHOIS information, archive web pages. So these are some of the things which we typically look for identifiers. So in this workshop, what I'll try to do is how to identify these identifiers, and how with a seed you start with, and then from there how do you pivot around with different techniques into for subsequent leads and pivot points. And then we also do look for relationships and associations, like who are the known associates for you, who are the linked accounts for you, or what are the organization tie-ups, or what is the affiliation of your organization that you work for. And then you also look at social networks, that friends and followers kind of stuff. And then there are a lot of behavioral patterns that you also, these are various identifiers if you see from a, investigation perspective, right? So the idea here is that just if you identify these kind of aspects which can lead, so let me put it in a different perspective. At any point of time, if you have a question or if you don't follow through, just raise your hand and feel free to pose any questions. So the idea here is, for example, let's say take a corporate network, right? So for example, an individual, every attack that comes to a corporate network, typically, everyone tries to contain it, or defend it, or prevent it, right? So but every attack has a crime behind, in a way, and every crime has a criminal behind, in a way, right? So that mapping, how do you do it? That attack to crime to criminal, that, and then of course subsequently that suspect or criminal to convictions and prosecution stage as well, right? So, but this entire workshop will be only focused on the crime to criminal part, how you actually identify from identifiers to the attribution of the criminals. So then we also, very important part in all of this is the motivations and intentions part, because a security researcher might do it for different purposes, and then a hacktivist might do it a different purpose, and then there will be also pen testers and red teamers who will be doing for different ethical means as well. So I'm taking any stand here, and just putting a perspective that these are the identifiers which we need to look for in any kind of investigations. So there is a hell lot of activity in any kind of online thing, that either a criminal or a script kiddie or either a ethical hacker, everyone who whatever they do, they have a digital footprint. In forensics, it's typically said, right? So every touch leaves a trace. So how do you find that trace? In order to identify that criminal activity, or in order to identify that attributed organization, or is it an organized gang, or is it a fraudster which is trying to do. So these are a couple of things, and of course that's the last part where threat actors and affiliations. Is it a known criminal, or is it some kind of link to a terrorist, or is it nation state actors or hacktivists as well. So these also lead to sometimes it need not be just straightforward when it comes to all these affiliations. It could be a lot of anomalies and red flags also, like sudden inconsistency, like suddenly overnight we have seen many times a new guy just registering thousands of domains just to use certain domains just for phishing purposes, and again it goes on a sleep and awake pattern. Like for example, they use it for 1 week and then they put it to sleep, and again in 6 months again they rise up and use the same infrastructure and just try and do that, guys. So this kind of inconsistencies or anomalies, how do you find it? So that is also another aspect of pivoting that we will think. Definitely, yeah, legal and regulatory info in terms of whether they have any past criminal records, or company registrations, legal filings, licenses and certs. These are also very majority of the times the company's online footprint, and from there redirecting to an individual, that also leads to a lot of these identifiers as well. So just those are the couple of identifiers to just set a straightforward, which in investigations typically we go ahead and definitely there are challenges to all of this. And one of the things that we face a lot of issue is, like, I'm just so far talking only from investigation point of view, and we will probably in the first 15 minutes or so, if we set that tone right, I think when you do hands-on, it will be of pretty much useful why we are doing what we are trying to do. So one of the key issues that we identify in this is, we typically, when it comes to law enforcement, they just trust too much on the service providers' responses, and a lot of legal procedure involved, and which also kind of hinders their process in terms of the speed at which a criminal moves is not at the speed at which the law enforcement guys move, right? So that is also something that we need to keep in mind when it comes to investigations. And then definitely limited information available or presented by responsible entities, and use of mule accounts. And mule is something, for example, we have seen in many cases when we kind of go after a identifier and find the identity of it. It turns out that he has just sold his identity or sold his bank account for certain bucks, and just to give away that information so that criminals in turn use them to receive the proceeds of financial means. So that is what we call typically mules, right? So some different geographies process mules in different ways. Like they might go with an empathetic response, or they might consider them as criminals as well. So and definitely this is another challenge that we see, like use of anonymizing services like VPNs, proxies, temporary mails. With when registering, there is no KYCs and all that kind of stuff as well. And on restrictions on access to data for investigators is also one more issue. Like for example, how we collect a lot of this historical breach data. It is not so easy sitting investigation kind of scenario and keep collecting about information about all the criminals around, right? So it's that is also something that brings in a lot of opportunity for private investigators or private freelancers who can actually build a lot of muzzle around for investigators as well. So, and again, that which I have covered already, it's complex, long legal process. So then what is the exact methodology that we are trying to cover here, right? So if you take a crime or attack per se, typically now for example, let's say some kind of crime happened where you identified you have received a phishing URL over, I think, is there anyone here who haven't received any kind of phishing mail or message in the last 5 years? You have, everybody receives, right? So it's the scale of it is so huge, and they have the automation at which these guys have been doing is phenomenal. So they keep upgrading their entire infrastructure. They know how volatile infrastructure can help around for them to not map their activities back as well. So one of the things that we try to do is whenever you identify phishing URL, then you take out the identifiers from it, and then from those identifiers is where you have your pivoting and analyze part, right? And then this is a continuous cyclic process where you take the identifiers, you pivot around, and then you identify you get new identifiers, and then from those identifiers, that's where the art part of it also, where you need to know which one to pivot around. Otherwise, you will be in infinite amount of data, but not exactly an actionable intel part of it. So that's something what we will be trying to see in this workshop also, because this is very fascinating in many means, because once you identify those identifiers and you keep circling around, it will be of humongous information, and you need to really identify what kind of identifiers to go around, right? So that should ideally lead to the criminal or a mule or a suspect. This is the methodology in which we follow. But yeah, I'm just skipping to the part where we will be also going through the OSINT part. So in open source intelligence, right? So right now we collect a lot of information, right? There are simple, means. You have amazing number of tools which are coming on a day-to-day basis. You collect information, and then you try to normalize it in terms of okay, for example, let's say just because it is in a breach data, it might not mean that they do have a account in the breached so-and-so website as well. So you need to kind of normalize, vet it, and then you need to enrich that identifiers on top of it, which is what we will cover as part of pivoting, and then you are going to derive intel part of it. So this is, again, everything that we will be doing is like, in pivoting, it's all about, it's a continuous recursive process, and there you really need to be a bit cautious on what kind of tool you will be using in your workflow. So that workflow is what we will be dealing with. So just to give a quick OSINT thing, importance of it as well. So I think most of you must be knowing this year, US intelligence community, comprising I think 16 agencies right now, has released this IC OSINT strategy 2024 to 26, and which is recognizing the importance of OSINT in the national intelligence as well, and which clearly states what do you mean by OSINT is simply intelligence derived exclusively from public or closed sources or commercially available ones that address specific intelligence priorities or requirements is what it defined OSINT as, and this is the first ever public strategy which is actually incorporating OSINT as a full-fledged discipline as part of intelligence routine. And I think some of you must be knowing this guy, Cabby, who is the most followed TikTok influencer guy. So, for example, if you want to see his Instagram profile and then to identify, what kind of name or email associated with it, it's a simple OSINT methodology, right? So, the particular social profile, and from there you try to identify email or identify their corresponding details. Similarly, in the same guise for fraudsters or email also you try to do. So this entire methodology is what we position as OSINT, but what it also defined as part of that OSINT strategy is that the vision, mission, and also the definition of it, and clearly they marked the strategic focus areas as part of this entire OSINT strategy. What are the key focus areas that they will try to expand on this open source intelligence. So that's just to kind of give the importance of the information with respect to OSINT importance. So now getting to the core part, right? So far what we have seen is just the importance of investigations, what we try to identify as part of investigations, and then importance of OSINT, and then comes the core pivoting part, right? So before going to that, we want to kind of see how many of you are familiar with a lot of the terminology that I have discussed so far, and how many of you are familiar with the typical OSINT tools, like probably most of you must be knowing like domain tools or Voxy or some probably Shodan. How many of you are aware of this? I'm just trying to assess so that I want to try to modulate the speed as well, because there is a lot to cover as well. So I hope at any time if I'm boring to you, just let me know bluntly that just skip to the part where it will be interesting. So because this is the time where I'm really fortunate to be here before you guys and giving back to the community whatever I have learned so far through a lot of community work as well. So please feel free to suggest. So when it comes to OSINT tools, right? So for each of the aspects that I was telling about identifiers, in the part of investigations, there are many tools of importance, in this. Like for example, let's say in terms of identifiers, let's say you have an image, or you have a PIMICE or TINI is very popular tool for that. And similarly, if you have email, probably EPOs or OSINT Industries is quite popular. And some of these tools are specific to law enforcement. Some of these tools are open to everyone to register, and some of these tools are free, open source, and a lot of this stuff, right? So I'm not kind of specifically going about whatever is free to use. Everything has its own merits, demerits, and most of this can be done through open source tools, right? So it's about the methodology that I want to stress upon in this session. And we also have Social Links Crime Wall, and then What's My Name by our own very friend Mika Hoffman. He runs this What's My Name, and then Holehe for identifying email linked accounts, and then Sherlock. So these are various tools, and I'm just trying to run out for each of these identifiers. There might be varied tools, but how do you connect these things with each other. For example, any tool, you give some input, and then it tries to get you some kind of outcome based on their expertise, based on their, the kind of calls that it is making, right? But how do you ensure, it is exactly in line with your investigations and what you're looking for? For example, for me, the most interesting 3 things when I look for investigation is like, I want a name, I want a location, I want the identity of the person that I'm trying to, establish the connection of that criminal activity to a criminal, right? So that might be, my interest will be more on, let's say I want a face to it and I want a location of it so that I can, grab the guy who is actually doing it. So whether is there any particular specific tool which exactly gives that end-to-end? There might be a lot of automated tools, but only few tools which are of interest and which are of real help in the process. I'll just run through that demo parts also. You can just, if you guys are interested, just you can do it in your own systems, or you can just take the screenshots of it. And these are, most of the instructions are also will be in the document that I have shared in the beginning. I will also share it once again at the end. And then you have, when it comes to infrastructure, you have WebCheck, Shodan, Recon, all of this, some of these important tools I'll just run also there, run through so that you can just perform the actions as well. And when it comes to financial info, like, most of the financial info is behind banks, and most of that information is through law enforcement requests. But when it comes to crypto or blockchain transactions, some of these are you have on-chain industries, or you have Etherscan, and then you have, for example, if you have an image and you want to identify the geolocation of it, you have GeoSpy. And these kind of stuff have been there, right? So when it comes to technical indicators, you have OpenFish, Virus Total, and then historical data, you have Wayback Machine, Archive. So these are some of the broad tools which I just wanted to touch upon. But there are many other tools also on top of each of the indicators I mentioned in the beginning as well. So don't worry, guys. I'll share the presentation with you all folks who I hope you all registered for the through the form. So we will share the presentation. So anyway, all of this. So but the point here is, so there are humongous number of tools, right? How do you make sense of all the data that there is, and how do you connect between all of these indicators to identify what you are looking for? That's the core part, right? So that's where the pivoting thing comes in. But this is just a summary of all the tools which I have been at least historically using, and then these are all various tools. But yeah, and there are also a lot of work around. Sorry, this one. Oh. Yeah, let me know. Feel free to know, ping me on, if I'm going faster also. Yeah, just so the idea here is that you even before this talk there was already a OWASP-MAS workshop happened, and that before Maltego. I do not want to be again one more talk on just a tool run through, but rather I want to focus more on the pivoting side of it. So just I'll run quickly on the what that pivoting means and what exactly we can gain through the process of pivoting, right? So let me just go through this. Yeah. And then you have a lot of people does and share this OSINT, of course, entire Start Me pages. If you are aware of, there are a lot of Start Me pages, Techniset, or you have Griffin Glynn's Start Me pages, which has a bit overview of all these tools which I'm mentioning under different identifier categories as well. So let me just quickly go through on the some hands-on with respect to OSINT part. So let's say assume a couple of scenarios, right? So let's say you have identified, for example, let's say in your social media account, someone has just posted something abusive. I'm just taking a small case so that it can go as high as it could be a nation state actor also trying to do a lot of misinformation, but I'm just trying to give a small case. So let's say someone has just posted something abusive online, So how do you kind of, as an investigator, how do you investigate with that, right? So there is this service called whatsmyname.app. I think you can just open that. So what it does, so let's say for example, you have a username. Let's say assume that you have John Doe, right? So the moment you give that username, it searches across all the online social media accounts and also all online accounts if there is a match to this particular username across all the accounts. So what I'm trying to tell you here is you have first username as your initial identifier, and then you want to kind of find the pivot points. From here, where do I go with, right? So let's say I'm just starting with a simple username. From username, I just wanted to identify all sorts of information that are leading from this username, right? So how to do about it? So this what's my name is a pretty much very helpful tool for me. It doesn't mean that every account that there is relates to that particular username. It is just that you get a lot of leads from this, so that from these which ones to pivot actually from, right? So that initial username to accounts is something that this particular tool does. You can just search it's mentioned at the bottom of the page as well, whatsmyname.org, and if you have any particular of your personal usernames and all, you can just search and see how accurate it is when it comes to identifying. Let's say you can just search John Doe or for example simple user, and identify if that is something that giving the different online accounts from it. So let's say this is one particular scenario, a simple scenario, right? So next, let's go with another kind of scenario as well. Let's say you have an Instagram account, or you want to identify an Instagram account from a username. How do you do that? So see, for each of this, there are complete manual methodologies on how you do it. You can brute force, you can search in Instagram search page as well whether a username exists, or you can just write an API for yourself and identify whether a particular account exists in each of these Instagram page or not. And then you can also have full automated mode where the moment you give something username, you can get all sorts of information with respect to username in all of this, like what's my name has done, what's my name .app has done a bit. But at the same time, there's a tool called Tautatis, from the same guys who built the OSINT Industries also. They have built something called this tool. Actually, for this, the instructions page has instructions on how to install, and you can just search that Tautatis -s, and you can just use that username, and it will find whether a particular username exists in that particular Instagram account or not. So how does this help, right? Imagine a scenario where I have no clue about any activity, or for example, my intent is to just identify a particular criminal who exactly is behind this particular username, or who exactly is behind this particular activity. How do I do that? Any ideas? Like, let's say for example, if you have a situation where you have seen some kind of abusive content. A lot of times we see a lot of abuse happening to our children as well, right? So let's say if someone has posted something abusive on your child, what is the approach that I'm leaving aside the law enforcement side of it, but let's say you as an investigator, or if you want to kind of unmask who is behind that. Of course, it's not our role to do unless you are you have the blessings of law enforcement. But what exactly that you can do, and any ideas here? Any ideas? You have a username and you want to kind of uncover who is behind that exactly. For example, I put it randomly, like, for example, Patriot is my username, for example, I'm just telling, and I just use that as a username to just post a lot of hit and abuse, content online. How do I, go about from there? Any ideas? Yeah. Yeah. So basically, searching other social medias also, whether this guy is using the same username across other social media accounts. That's a simple and a plain, methodology that we can follow. That is it a one-off an event, or is it something that it's a pattern? That identification, how do you do it, right? So for these tools are just for a hands-on practice, but the thing is, there is a much more behind this, identification of this, methodology is the core part of it, right? So you have a username and you've searched across different social media. For example, in one particular social media account, he might be hiding, or he might be hiding his identity. Probably there might be a lead in another social media account which is a bit strict, or which is a bit more collecting information about that user. For example, we do have some kind of fintech applications back in India, so where we have, they collect a lot of this geographical information of all the financial transactions. Whenever you're doing a financial transaction by mobile, they collect the geographical IP as well. So if you have a lead in such kind of fintech apps, it might give us the exact location which I'm looking for, right? So in order for that to happen, so the initial pivot point is to identify the linked accounts, or is this one of a account where he used only for, which is pretty rare, right? Most of the general activity, if they are not very organized in nature, they use this across different platforms as it could be it's just a normal pattern of this guys which you need to identify, right? So from that you take a particular account or username and then search the social media accounts, and let's say you identify a lot of it. And for the benefit of this session, one of the things that I would recommend is you can just go a site called app OSINT tracker. What this helps, I'll just tell you this kind of whenever you're identifying leads now, so how do you kind of make a picture out of it, or how do you build that visualization, right? So let's say I just go to this investigations tab. Let's see. So let's say let me just take one new investigation so that you'll be able to follow through. You can just open any kind of investigation. Let's say I want to do a test and I just wanted to follow default set. Why this is important, I'll just tell you. See, whenever you are pivoting, right, the issue is that how do you kind of put entire picture of a investigation into a single map? How do you kind of follow through? There are many ways to do it. I'll also show the other ways to do it. OSINT Tracker is just a free to use tool, and it doesn't store anything on the server, it's just on the browser. So you can be a bit assured about all the investigation that you're doing as part of the browser. So the idea here is you just add a new investigation. Let's say I just did a test. So initially I'm saying that I have a value, let's say John Doe as my value, and let's say I'm saying this is a probably I'm saying it's a person, and then you can just assign any color of it and size of it and all. You can just add this, right? So let's say I have this person now, and who is just as my initial seed called John Doe, and then I want to kind of I have through the username searches through What's My Name app. Let's say, let me see like this. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So let's say I just search for John Doe. Oh, interesting. Yeah. So the moment you search for, is it visible, or if it is not, just let me know. So the moment you search for, this is your initial seed, and then what you're trying to do is identify the all the different seeds, all the different accounts based on this particular username, and it is, as we speak, it is just identifying all different sites with this particular username. So it is saying that it has about.me account, it's a social account, account found. All these are found accounts and all. I just took a random seed so that we can also take something very interesting. You can take any but you can also do your own username of your own social accounts as well, and just search for it. The moment you see so far 72 found, and it searched for about almost it is searching for 598 different accounts, if such thing exists, right? So once you search for it, let's say I identified that it has an Arduino account, or it has Calendly account. Let's say I saw, so I can just add one more entity. So it's saying that it has a company name, which is, let's say, what did we see? Calendly, let's say. You have Calendly as an account, you found a Calendly account and it's a company. Yeah. So you have put the account, and similarly you can add as many things as possible, right? So it's not that you can just go with any of it. So you can just chess.com and all. So I'm taking this one example, but we'll go through an interesting case study at the end of it, how we kind of started with a simple seed, and at the end of it identified a organized gang as well. So that would be a live case which we can also visualize. Similarly, you can just add as many as possible, and it can grow. From here on, I'll just show directly through the presentation itself for the interest of time. But you can just add as many entities that you find as from initial seed and through the pivot points. And from there, which one to pivot? Like for example, out of this, I identified Calendly as one of the natural thing, because it might have a lot of this whom they might be talking to, because if someone has a Calendly account, probably he might have a lot of this calendar data where he must have been in communication with a lot of these external parties as well. Similarly, the idea here is to kind of map all of this. You can just use OSINT tracker, and I can show this in direct investigation of, for example, a URL. This would be of help probably. I think it will be easier to explain with this. So let's say I have identified a phishing URL. I took that as a seed. You can actually check this live as well. This is a live phishing URL, and it's been in the wild, being used everywhere. And if you just take this as a phishing URL, it resolves to so-and-so IP address. There are a lot many tools which I'll be also discussing on how we get there. And then there is a registered company for it under the 68, which is a bit suspicious. And then you have a registered country, it is showing as Hong Kong, and the TLS certificate is giving us the ID or cert ID of it. And from there, so this is the initial first pivoting elements that we identified just from URL, and you just resolved it to certain IP, and then domains with similar names also you can identify. I'm just running you through end-to-end case study so that I'll go through each step again. But before that, if you see this is the initial set of elements. This is our pivot one, for example. And from here, if you see, like you can do a reverse whois of this particular company name. I'll show how. And then from other domains, what are the other domains using the same certificate which you found through that initial certificate as well. And then JAM is like your TLS server fingerprint, JARM, and based on this particular server, what are the other entities which are matching this particular fingerprint you identified, and it is all mapping to a particular certain set of IPs. And even the jQuery, which the kind of technologies that this particular URL is using, it's also used by another similar IPs, and all of these are leading to a couple of 14 IPs which are in turn associated with certain domains and associated with certain TLS certificates. So this is one way in which you kind of pivot from one from base seed to the time where you identify different kind of pivot points through various means, right? So let me get back to this form and just run you through now how did I identify each of that. And let's go once. Yeah, please. there are a lot of automation tools, but this particular one is just for the sake of, it's since a free tool, you just need to put it on manually right now in that OSINT tracker. Yeah. Yeah. The first question I was able to get, you said that, is there any Bitcoin or crypto kind of interactions in this? Yes and no. In this particular phishing URL thing, we haven't found it, but yes, there are in other investigations which we'll be dealing with. There are that kind of transactions which we found, and it is very interesting because we looked at one US call center sitting instead of our geography. What they have done is they have been continuously targeting US citizens in the name of US Customs and Border Protection, and those guys have been using gift cards, and then from gift cards they are converting it into crypto, and from crypto they are actually getting that proceeds into peer-to-peer trust wallet, and trust wallet from there they are getting into offline hawala, meaning they are converting that money to offline as well. So such kind of scenarios are there. I'll discuss. I can discuss offline as well if you are more interested on that. But the second question I couldn't get it. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So everything that I'm showing right now is all public information. You can do it publicly. It's that's the point of all this, right? So we have always you have forensic route. You have a device and you try to gather as much information, and you have law enforcement route where you can actually go and get a lot of information from the service providers, and then you have OSINT route where you can the moment you get something, you can just automate a lot of this stuff and just get the information that you require without waiting on and without spending much time on the turnaround times, right? Yes. Oh, okay. No. Right now, at least that's what they publicize. But I'm not sure because I don't represent them. At least from the look of it, this is just for the purpose I'm using it. It's not that in the actual investigation scenario, I have never used that. So only thing is, this has found to be a bit better way in explaining this concept than the actual investigation part. Sorry? I think it's US, I think. Any idea? France. Oh, okay. They are based out of France, it seems, the OSINT tracker guys. Yeah. So similarly, we have, so you have, I'm just getting into the flow of various tools, and for each of the handles that you are seeing in that entire graph, how to identify them. So then you have email OSINT, right? So for example, how do you find Google profile and probable location details from Gmail? So you have a tool called ghunt, which is all of these are open source ones, and it's all available in GitHub. You can just try out. So in ghunt, you can just give a probable the mail ID that you want to investigate on, and what it gives is it will typically give you the Google profile, and also at the same time possible locations where for example, let's say somewhere in last 5 years or 10 years you have commented in, for example, you went to a restaurant and you have given a Google review, let's say. So this particular tool actually finds that and also gives you that exact location where you have given this review as well. So it a lot of this intel leads come from different places, but this is one tool where it has been of good help. But there are definitely automated tools which has come after this. But there is one thing, if you can just reverse engineer on how that is being done, it is plain forward. You can just search for that username or Gmail, and you can actually get and see that particular user's Google reviews, and that can also give you an idea. For example, let's say in some places where we have seen some of the these suspects. They are just kind of doing Google reviews in particular place, while their IP is saying that they are based out of some other country, whereas their reviews are particularly in particular area, and we are able to understand, okay, he's been using some proxy or VPN, whereas his actual location might be here around. So such kind of leads also led us to a lot of investigation endpoints as well. Similarly, so when it comes to, these are just plain OSINT tools and all that, but just if you go further and build a complete end-to-end pivoting pipeline, so how will that be, and where do you get these data sources from? So there are various data sources that you can build around from. So probably you have public data like public records or public websites or forums, or you have images, videos, social media, online profiles, news, maps. So varied kind of data sources exist. The key thing about when you actually have to pivot do this pivoting and all, right, so you need to identify which source you are getting the data from and how valid that particular data belongs to as well. I mean, that data you can rely really on, because at the end of the day, for example, let's say some tool has given me just said this particular 10 accounts are related to this. It doesn't mean I go and get these guys as behind, right? So it doesn't make any sense, and it has a lot of ripple effect. So one of the things that we can do is we can build these sources as well, and there are a lot of entities which we try, which a lot of community work which the people are doing in terms of one side there are collecting historical data to kind of narrow down the suspects a bit quickly. On the other side, instantly at that point of time, if you give some kind of seed to identify all the kind of online profiles as well. So I'll show that one example as well for both of this. So these are specialized sources and different things. So just I'll get to the core pivoting part, right? So this is one example of Hatless Wonder, his way of pivoting, great guy, and I follow him a lot. And one of the things that he's been one of his blog, right? So what he did, he kind of took a Gmail, or for example a mail ID, or from a mail ID, he has split that mail ID into 3 parts. One is your the initial username of that mail ID. For example, just ram at cyber.io is the mail ID, for example. What he has done is he's just take ram as a as a username, and then cyber.io as a domain name, and then the whole full mail as a one entity. So from one seed, he has done a bit 3-step in pivoting points, and from there, if you see here, yeah, if you see here, so what he did, I mean, he explained in the process, is that from this username, you just search across all the search engines for that particular name, or use what's my name, which in turn also is a bit doing the same similar thing, and or you can just whether it is really in use or not, what is the last activity on, and then you can also search for any kind of variations. For example, RAM 6 or RAM 7, something like that. That sort of variations also you can do. Sometimes it is very obvious, sometimes it is very difficult also to make out of it. But the idea is that the moment you take a research core seed, which we call it like the Gmail or a mail ID, from there pivoting into 3 different pivot points, and from there how will you automate so that it will be like this. You in the initial stage you diverge, and then eventually this all will converge into a certain data points which can lead to what you're looking for. That's how the entire art. That's how you can say that you have learned the art of pivoting as well, right? So because at the end of the day, whatever you are trying to initially grab as many leads on, you initially have to also get into a particular narrowed, whether if you're looking for a location, you need to initially know what you're looking for exactly as well. Otherwise, you'll be just there will be millions and millions of data points from a single any seed that you take. When I say a seed, initial identifier, whichever you take, most times you'll find humongous information. Like for example, you take just a sample username search, or if you take you take even the let's say linked domains, it itself might be a lot, right? For example, if he is in a shared hosting provider, you will get probably thousands and thousands of domains as well. And then from there, how many domains you will be able to do it in real time, right? You can automate most of all of this because there are a lot of scripting tools which does it. But at the end of the day, you just need to know which endpoint you are actually targeting for. So that pivoting methodology. So there are ways to do it, but let me just show you a couple of different methodologies as well, by well-known researchers in the domain as well. So when it comes to effective pivoting, right? So there are initial indicators. You take that as a base one. I'm just taking as a very stripped down version of the basic methodology I'm talking about. You then take a small pivot method, and then from there you'll get a lot of identifiers, and then to different pivot methodology you'll get indicated different properties as well. And from this, sometimes what happens is they all converge, like the one which I have shown you on the phishing thing, right? So they typically, when they converge, and when you go in multiple tiers as well, they again diverge and they converge into a particular data point as well. And that's when there is something, cross linkages between all of this, which means that you are onto something. So that diverging and converging is what you will typically follow through when it comes to identifying the target thing that which you will be trying to do. So similarly, the one when you actually do all this kind of pivoting techniques, one of the important part is, in order for you to identify when you are converging and when you are when you are diverging and when you are converging, you need to have that kind of pivot maps. So like for example, OSINT tracker is just one way in how you build that pivot maps. But essentially, you have many methodologies on how to do it. Like Trickest is one of the thing, or otherwise you can do a lot of workflow tools like Whimsical or something. So these are various tools to do it. It's about our methodology. Even Maltego also has a lot of this, Maltego community edition. You can do this kind of pivot maps as well within the community edition itself, where you'll get a lot of these divergent points, and then essentially when you map all of this, it will converge into a certain identifiers of interest for you, and which essentially means that you are getting your person of interest, or what we call as POI, right? So that pivot maps, identifying indicators, and then you define what properties you want to find, and then you identify the pivot methods, like whether you want to use it manual process or you want to use only vetted sources of data. Like for example, let's say I want to personally and manually search whether this particular user is active, and take the I don't want to take any sort of probability in that, but I want to for sure know that if this particular user exists only, I will take the next pivoting point. So some people do that, and some people just go on the full-on divergent mode, and first identify all sorts of data points in the first layer itself, and they go on the breadth side of it instead of going at the level 2 as well. And it depends on your techniques which you want to follow as well. So for example, let's say this is go pivoting, one of the methodology which is shared for the community as well. So one of the thing, if you see this pivoting technique, so initially you took a domain, and once you have a domain, from domain you have name servers, you have when that particular domain is registered, when that you have that registrant information where you have and who is the registrar, similar name or top level domain and URL path, forward DNS. And again, if you see these domains and all, most of this might as well lead to another domain as well. So here, if you see the point from this domain part, you might find a lot of these divergent paths, but again, they might lead to certain domains, which means that these two domains are also quietly related in some way or other. So that's how you kind of you identify your next pivot point as well. So in this case, what happens is, if this is the pivoting methodology, whereas this will be your next pivot point. From that domain, again, you can actually pivot around and see that whether these two domains are linked, and then identify the exact these two domains and similar domains which those guys might be registering as phishing URLs or something. And similarly, TLS certificate also might lead to it. I'll explain this entire sample through a case study, and which you can also follow through, because all these tools are also online tools which you can just do it as well. Similarly, so you have with Intel Techniques various pivoting domain names as well. These are some things which you can find with emails or usernames and telephones or name locations as well. But here is one interesting thing which I think most of you must be knowing about. Have I been pawned, right? So when you give an email, right? So it can just search and if for example, let's say I want to search, that's my bit older mail ID. So it says, for example, let's say I have given an email as a seed, and it says that it has 26 data breaches and found no pace. And in this process, it is showing that it has an account of Big Basket, which is a local grocery app, a delivery app, and it has an account in Canva, and then daily objects, and then Domino's, Dunzo, Dropbox, and then you have LinkedIn, and similarly you have Ticketfly or Trello, Twitter, Zomato, Zoomcar. These are various sites in which particular through breached data you are getting this kind of email as a seed from, right? So what happens from here is, that's where in this last part of the talk is, if you see in the entire investigation scenario, you have started with an email, and then you found a technique where you have found this kind of social accounts or accounts, and from this now if you use the law enforcement techniques to guide, send a request to either Zomato or Twitter asking for details of this user. So essentially what you're trying to do is you are taking in initial lead from OSINT, and from there getting actual information of the user from law enforcement techniques. So essentially you are mixing and matching your open source intelligence with other sources of intel that you can generate on. That can essentially very effective technique that we have seen over a period as well. Because, and just imagine if this is done on any of us as well, right? So what is something that we can hide from the internet? You understood what I'm trying to say, right? So for example, just imagine put ourselves into the shoes of having our own accounts like this, and someone can find this. So leaving aside the legal side of it, if you just go through any of the existing tools and identify and do profile yourself, this is how any person can use all these online techniques to identify about their footprint, right? So that sometimes definitely it must be scary for some. Definitely sometimes it scares me a lot when I look from my children's lens as well. How much of information that they share online, and how much of information that they anyone can find and link back, be it by address, or be it in terms of their preferences, activities. It definitely is a tricky space, right? So this also has both effects, but at the same time, this is also how different investigators also have been using to narrow down on the suspects. So just this pivoting part, if you start looking at, so from email you are getting online profiles, and from if you look at the user's profile from these platforms, you can further identify and pivot from their profile photo or email, and from there you can also do a reverse image search. For example, Yandex reverse image search is there. You have TinEye or PimEyes. So these are various tools in how you can actually find out if a particular photo is existing anywhere else in the internet as well. So those kind of information is quite tricky, and you can find a lot of information once you get these pivot points one by one as well. So similarly, the ones which we looked at from username and username search as well. So let's just take a bit of small time on see how to take from a phishing URL and step by step on how you build that pivot map, right? So let me take the same domain which I have explained before. So there is this vwy.gbv.info, which is the domain name that, typically when you get these messages or mails, right, there will be a URL, right, typically. So when you have that URL and you identified the domain from it, so this is how I took just from a random phishing page, or it is live as we speak. So once you take this info, this is the initial pivot point that you want to take, and you can just take any site, for who is records of it. For instance, here I took the case of Voxy. Voxy is just a domain search engine where you can just give this domain name, and it has given 3 details here. I think it might not be visible here. I'll just read out. So it has given a company name as 68. They have just given as 68 as a company detail, and from there it is instantly it also does the reverse search of that company name as well. And here it has told that around 1700 odd domains have registered the same company name. Who would keep 8888 as the company name, right? Unless it looked suspicious. So then also it said that the country is Hong Kong, and that's how it has mentioned. And then you also have, if I'm not wrong, it's just one state and one URL. So from here, let's say you have identified the domain registration details of the company and the country. Then from here, you just go to the next step. Okay, let's say you have got this registered company as out of the 3 leads which I got from Voxy, I took only one. You can just search in voxy.com, and the instructions for this is in the QR code which is provided. And from there, you just give the registered company detail in the Voxy as well, and it has further given lot of other domains which are linked to the same company name. It's about 1700 plus domains which have linked to the same thing, right? So the next pivot point, you can as well take all of the 3 as pivot points also, like you can just randomly search for Hong Kong, but it doesn't make sense, right? So it's just out of the other 3 things which they provided in the initial point, only company is at least something that you can ride on. And then from there, if you just do the pivot, then you can find the new linked domains, and they are about 1700 odd domains which are registered with the same that suspicious company name. And from here, if you just go to the next step, let's say you have identified from this domain name also similar names, like does this VWBYG or whatever domain name that has, is there a similar domains which got registered? And it showed that it has registered not only .info but .vip, that random name. So and it's almost at the same registration time as well. So which means that this probable indication. So all of this is also in the folder that you have. You also have that entire OSINT tracker. You can upload a file in this OSINT tracker site. You can just go to the investigations tab, and you can just import the file which you have in that particular folder, which was shared. You can just import it, and you will get the entire detail of that entire case study, so that you can just go through or follow through what I'm trying to say. And then from here, searching domains with similar name, what you can actually see is the new linked names. You can now search for that particular TLS certificate of that particular domain name, and you can just take the TLS certificate by clicking on that whatever that lock is there, and from there you can find all the similar domain names which are sharing the same TLS certificate. So once you get that, right, so I mean here there might be a lot of ways to identify this, but the thing is, what I just have done is from initial domain name, I have identified just there who is records, and from there I identified there are similar domains which are sharing the same company name, which means that company name is our next pivot point, and from there you are pivoting towards the linked domain names and also the linked similar names, which means that the similar names also might be sharing the same pattern, or they might be not still be using that as a phishing page, but still they might be using that. and then from there you are actually identifying other domains across the internet which are sharing the same TLS certificate. And if you see, they have almost used the similar TLDs, .info, .vip, and with the varied variations of that random domain names, which means now initially you have one domain name and you have further identified a lot of domain points, and then from there you are trying to identify whether that TLS certificate and all is shared across. And then from here, what you can also do is you can just search in VirusTotal and just have the domain name and search for its IP address. So what I'm trying to do is, so I have got different identifiers, like from domain name I got TLS certificate, and I got company name, and then I also got the linked domain names from that who are sharing the same company name, and the linked domain names who are sharing the same TLS certificates. So from there, what I'm trying to do is identify, is there a common pattern in IP addresses also between all of these domains. So what we found is, from VirusTotal, it's just that I identified there is this IP address. So once IP address of that particular thing is also identified. So just to summarize what we have done so far, so just we have seen the state and the country, and then we have got company name and domains registered to the same TLS certificate, and domains with similar names, domain registered for the same company, and hosting IP address. These are what we have got so far. You can just put it in your pivot map, and from the pivot map, what you try to do next is that, let's say from the IP address, you can just again use VirusTotal and use the IP. And once you get to the IP address of VirusTotal, it will give you all the passive DNS domain names of all the IP addresses which historically has resolved using this IP address. Here is a list, and also all the URLs which has been using this IP address in the past as well. So that from there you are actually going from IP address to all the linked domains through IP. So it might be very much different from if you are pivoting from your domain name and getting different sort of similar names, whereas you are pivoting from TLS certificates, you might be finding different set of domain names, and again through IP address you might be finding a different set of domain names as well. But you here at this point of time, we will be identifying whether which part of points which we need to pivot from, right? So the idea here is how is to identify as many phishing URLs. This is what I mean. When I started this, I just wanted to identify as many phishing URLs, and if there is there any organized pattern to this. And the other thing which I did is there any identity which I can identify from this particular exercise. So when I'm looking for this, so it has got the new indicators which are domains resolving to the same IP in the past and all that from VirusTotal. Then comes the tricky part. So let's say I have taken this IP address, and I want to know if there is any SSL certificates or domains specifically using this particular IP address per se. So in the VirusTotal, if you can open up in the once you search for IP address, it will give you in the details section, which is highlighted here. I don't know if it is visible, but hope you're all following through so far. And from this, you will get the thumbprint of that particular SSL certificate, and then you will also identify there is this all domains that SSL certificate is used for. That list also will be available. You can see crt.sh is also one more site where you can identify all these TLS certificate based IP domains as well. But this is one more way in which how you pivot it from. So far what kind of new indicators that you got is you got SSL certificate thumbprints and other domains from the same IP address, and then JAM fingerprint, which means that particular server has a particular unique fingerprint which will be subsequently used for us to identify more pivot points as well. So let's say I'll just show this. From here, since I have got an IP address now, and I'll just show this as well. So far I'm just summarizing here, just like, yeah, if you see this, the same thing which we discussed before. So we got initially a TLS certificate, registrant country, and registrant company, and then you have this domain resolved to certain IP address, and you also have another resolution to the another IP address as well, and domains, there are similar name domains as well, .vip, which we identified. And then from here, if you see, from this IP address, I am pivoting towards, I got the JAM fingerprint from VirusTotal, and I can also identify technologies used in the same panel. And then if there are any open ports, you can as well scan the IP address using a simple, nmap or something, and then you can find the ISP through ASN names, and you'll see that it is hosted in gigabit hosting thing. And if you see all of this, it is again, if you look from this perspective, these are all pointing to certain 14 IPs which are shared, even though it has diverged from here, but they're all pointing to IPs using same, these are the same techniques used by other IPs, and these are the same IPs which have same open ports, and then IPs with the same ISP, and IPs having same JAM signature as well. Which means what we are getting from here is, so essentially you are starting with a simple domain name, and you have identified the server details, and also similar sharing IP addresses you are able to find, and then from that IP you are actually you are finding the associate domains and associate TLS certificates as well. So essentially this gives you a bit of map on how you are pivoting from one, and each of this you can serve, and again you can add more details. Of course this is all manual, but again, if you just follow through all of this and all, right, so each of this again can be further enriched using a lot of OSINT tools as well, and which I can just brief around as well. See, if you just look at this, how we have done in Shodan, the same IP and the certificate fingerprint I used, and it boiled down to set almost 1,69,000 results, and it showed what kind of organizations that are using and what kind of ports that are open. Yeah, it's just that it is searching for the JAM fingerprint. Whosoever has had that JAM fingerprint, which is a server fingerprint, it is listing all the domains which has that similar fingerprint. So essentially from one particular domain, you are actually widening your net through pivoting to identify as many domains as possible. And this is how we identified, there is one particular network which has been consistently using this kind of domains to fish people and get money out of them, or do a lot of the social engineering tactics, is the something that how we identified. And although I have used some random pointers here in this particular search, but it is actual case which we have done as well in using a different seed and using the same techniques to identify a transnational organized crime network as well. So just from here, if you essentially we are. So in this particular scenario, so far what we are seeing is, you have identified that hosting details, and then you have domains hosted on servers with similar configurations, and then you have found out IPs with similar configuration as well, and JAM signature of connections with the host as well. So these are some of the, this one scenario. I'll also get to another scenario which has a different pivot point, but essentially we are going after a organized fraud as well. I'll just show that as well. Yeah. So this is the same thing that you are seeing as part of OSINT tracker, which that file is provided. You can just do this entire exercise also on your own and get the same thing. So similarly, if you are starting with a phone number, right, which I'm sure every one of you have a phone number, right? So when you have this phone number, what else can you do? Can anyone have any guesses or suggestions on? If you have, yeah, yes please. Sorry? Call it, yeah. Anything else? Yeah, absolutely. nice answer. Yeah. Sorry, phone box, yeah, phone book records. But how do you do it remotely, right? So yeah. I'm sorry, I'm unable to hear you actually. Okay, if I read you correctly, you can phone lookup is what you're saying, or perfect. Yeah, how do you do that? Yeah. Anyone else? If someone raise a hand, yeah. Yes. Oh, it's very difficult. Sorry. All right, I'll just get to this. So there are varied means. For example, I'm sure how many of you are here use Truecaller? That's DEFCON, folks. I think in most of the other settings, generally, a lot of people just use, but the kind of data that gets collected, right? So it's humongous. The first thing that typically we also do is just search for in the Truecaller thing and find out what is the name that gets stored in most of the pages as well, right? So I'm just telling you the manual way of doing it. So for example, you can just search, or you can do a simple free text search in Google as well, right? So in order to find pivot points as well. But is there any better way to do it? So we took this is one of the most important crime that we solved early this year. What happened was it was a big a network of people who are doing this in all of this human trafficking, and all that we got is just a phone number. So how we identified from there, how did we pivot around and identified who they actually is and who are the connected points as well. I'll just quickly show how we did it. Probably you can take some insight from this as well. So initially, when we look at a phone number, right? So most of the times, in terms of cyber-enabled frauds, phone number has been historically been the most abused identifier, be it phone number and also email. Even today, the most of the these suspects have been using phone number and email as a major identifier, to deliver their social engineering tactic, be it through VoIP calls or through WhatsApp calls, or even through direct calls, or sending SMS through bulk providers. There are many ways in which these guys are doing. But how you can pivot further in most of these cases, let me just show you. It has some sensitive info, so which is why I have a bit obfuscated. I'm sorry. All right. So what happened in this particular case? So we have got a phone number, and then we identified if it has any particular linked accounts, and we identified that it has a Truecaller account, and we also identified there is a Flipkart account, which is like equivalent of Amazon in India, and we identified once we got the Flipkart, so we enabled the law enforcement route as well to get the KYC or the know your customer details, and then we also got the bank account associated with that e-commerce account, and then we also got delivery contact numbers that they used and delivery locations. But through OSINT, we initially from this we just identified the e-commerce, and then the police does what they do. So they have identified the rest of it. But at the same time, through Truecaller, we are able to identify the common names associated with this particular phone number. And then we have also how did we find the linkages and all? I'll show you a particular very interesting tool for that, which we use for it. But then again, we also found the linked accounts with respect to Telegram, and through Telegram we have got last used IP through law enforcement request again. And if you see this, we are actually for the initial leads from a seed, we are just pivoting around using the common techniques, and from there we are working hand in hand with the law enforcement guys, so that the idea is that how you can actually merge through your open source intelligence data and also your legal enforcement requests. That hand in hand, at least that doesn't, I mean, in other economies, I think in other geographies it might happen, but for us in India, we are the first ones to actually integrate this together in a more scaled fashion. And one of the things that we identified was he has a WhatsApp account, but at the same time, it has registered to a business location in Delhi, our capital, and then we have got a lot of business domains associated with that particular WhatsApp account, and we are able to also identify other business number. For example, whenever you have got a phone number, typically in our geography, they ask for an alternate number as well. So we are able to identify the alternate number, and from alternate number, you can just piggyback the entire chain to identify the complete chain of all the phone numbers associated as well. And through that, what we are able to identify at the end, if you see, we got realistic, we got Skype ID of one of the associated phone number, and Skype again has stored profile picture as well. And then from there, we also whatever domain that we identified, we followed the same process that I explained in the phishing URL thing. So we have got registered email, registered phone number, and business registered address. And then from there, we got social media profiles. And from there is the interesting part. Those social media accounts have a lot of foothold with the same username. And through that entire network, we are able to identify they has posted a particular crypto ID, who can actually donate for their cause or something, whatever fickle cause it is. But from there, we are able to identify, a particular account which they have used for, donations part. From there, we actually used again law enforcement request, because there are both actually, has both crypto account and also a local bank account as well. And that bank account, it has led to a lot of this entire network of who they have been transferring money from and to, and the associated KYCs, and it all boiled down to final, there is one particular account who the guy is, there is also in and also out from when it comes to these bank accounts as well. And we thought, this is of the interest, for whenever there is something converging, and also, there is a divergent factor to that particular part. Typically that is of one concern, or in the sense it is more suspicious, because there is one guy who is handling the whole network essentially. And that's how we are able to identify this particular person through just from an initial phone number, through all these pivoting points. If you see this, there are a lot of dead ends, and there will always be also unnecessary leads also. Like for example, the instance when we went through this entire e-commerce ID and tried to find out this particular thing. So what happened was, it led us to a simple mule account, and he is not able to confess who the guy who is actually, because someone has approached him and said that online, you just give your account and we will pay you this much a month. And that's how we hit a dead end there, because from there also he is unable to give us any information on what kind of information that who has called, or what kind of information they shared. He has just simply, someone has called him on WhatsApp and said, I'll give you just $500 and you just give us your account, and he just handed it over. And that's how we are able to kind of hit a point there. But essentially, we are able to map out this entire network, and there are definitely ways to do this. So I'll just let me just quickly show that. So if you see this, there's a site called OSINT Industries, and they're doing amazing work on this, and definitely I think they really require a pat on the back, because they are helping law enforcement on many fronts on this. So what we did, so we search whenever we get email or phone number. Sorry. Let me just search for just a second. So I'm nowhere, again, just a disclaimer here, I'm nowhere promoting any of this particular thing, just that this worked for us in this particular scenario. So when we entered, example, this is the guy. He's head of Wagner Youth in Russia. Oops. You can search right now. The supported things is, I mean, if anyone of you are interested to get a couple of credits for this, we can mail you through the registered form which you have done. We can mail you on. I think we'll take the mails and we can give you a couple of credits. But typically, this is only for most of the law enforcement guys. So let me just search for the same. Did anyone have any questions? Or, yeah. Can you speak a bit louder? Sorry. Yeah. Right. Right. In those cases, what you can do is, since if you're doing it, I mean, generally what I do is when I am profiling myself, if I hit a place where it is through law enforcement, elsewhere, understood. So in those cases, unless you have work hand in hand, you can't get those data. But otherwise, there are means. For example, in the case that which we did. So even though we used the law enforcement methodology, but there are also OSINT methodologies on how you can find them as well. And one of the hidden connections that we try to find out is a lot of this breach data is amazing. They give a lot of information. And the other part is also that lot of these information with respect to this true callers or bulk IP lookups or bulk domain databases. So having these kind of things also will further speed up your entire process of investigations as well. And it works amazingly well if you get. These are all legal way of getting also, because a lot of guys just sell it officially through their channels as well. That can further speed up your process without actually waiting, because in our case we are very short on time because we need to identify that, which we immediately used law enforcement route in that case. But otherwise, there are definitely everything that essentially is being found by law enforcement can also be found through OSINT route, and we have tested it quite some time in for example, let me just show you this as well. So he is so he is head of that Wagner group in the Russia. The younger one. Yeah. So if you search for a particular mail ID, there are a lot of tools out there, guys. Whatever I'm just trying to do is a bit automated way, but otherwise, the same guys have already done a lot of community work before, and their GitHub pages are also, I think, linked in the document that was shared to you. Their GitHub pages are also mentioned, so that you can go through and do it. Yeah, it's just loading. So it is showing that it's yeah. Let me do another parallel search if I can. generally, if you give, let me give mine. Yeah, if you see this, that particular email ID which I gave, it is, I can't read, but yeah, I think it must be in Russia or and it has couple of profile pictures as well from Skype, Chess, Microsoft, GitHub, and then it has Google account, YouTube account, GitHub, and this is how he gets seen in Skype. And it's also a timeline actually when those kind of accounts are registered and when as well. If you see this, the chess.com and the first name and last name of it and username of it. So from these, you can generally what we do, once you get all this, you just map into your pivot table, and from there you again pivot from those again recursively also, right? So you get username, and you can also check for on those particular creation date also, you can just filter it out if there are any other accounts which are created, apple.com account, and then Twitter, Nvidia, Facebook, Binance, Grammarly, Duolingo. These are the accounts that are associated with it. Similarly, if you see the one which I gave my old mail ID, so if you see this, yep, it's in India, Hyderabad, so that's where I'm from. And these are various comments historical headed in Gmail, using Gmail, and then I have Big Basket account, Canva, and then these are all from breached accounts as well, and Domino's. All of this, LinkedIn, all of this you can just search around for your own email as well on this. I'll ensure that guys, all of you get the credits of it. But this, if you see this, this shows you the Google account, YouTube, Notion, GitHub, Khan Academy, Facebook, Fitbit, Foursquare, Goodreads, Adidas, and Medium account, PayPal, Dropbox, Google Maps, Instagram, Tumblr, Miro, Instacart, Freelancer, Pinterest, Anydo, Economic Times, Strava. So these are the length and breadth of what you can do, online right now has immensely automated in many ways. And once you get all of these details, right, everything you consider that as again as your initial seed, and from there you can just pivot around for that many data points to identify and profile, in terms of whether it is for whatever purpose you guys are doing. Just imagine the same thing you do for an enterprise network, and profile all the employees of enterprise network. I'm sure some or other vulnerability you'll find it. So yeah, please. Yeah, this is OSINT Industries, yes. And we'll try and get you access for these guys. You can just if I'll share the email address also. If you want, if you don't receive it, you can just also ping to that mail ID as well. But this is one of the many ways in which you can actually get all sorts of, you can just export it, PDF. I mean, these guys are also working with law enforcement a lot, and I think the guys are doing amazing work about it. But another thing which we also can look at is, with this much of footprint online, most of these kind of investigations become very easier and lesser turnaround times, because we are not relying essentially on the the legal process as well with just online information. Similarly, I just will a couple of final points. So this is for the email data points. So most of this already is covered as part of the if you want to kind of do it on your own as well, you can use AAD internals also, and you can give your email address. It will show domain and tenants, or you can even search for if you know phonebook.cz. It is run by Intelex. Yeah, if you can just for example, let's say you can just give, I'll just search for Netflix, and I want to list all the email addresses associated with Netflix, for example. sorry. Oh, something is blocking, but it generally lists down all. What is it blocking? Alright, something wrong with the demo words are not helping me today, but yeah, yeah. So in the phone book, actually, what you'll get is, the moment you give a domain name, it will give you historically all the emails associated with the domain name, and similarly all the domains associated with that, subdomains also. In that, it has a very useful information whenever you are doing the first initial recon and go from there. And similarly, you can also Gmail to location. I already explained you the ghunt thing, and of course, have I been pawned, you have seen. But the idea here is that it's not that what kind of tool you use. It's more important is that how from one pivoting point you identify ways in which you can do that divergence in the beginning, and then from there how do you converge. Since it's this is my first time at DEFCON, one of the thing at doing workshop, one of the thing I just wanted to offer you guys is that this pivoting techniques have been consistently evolving as we speak, and this is not so much happening before, but now it is being used by almost every government agencies, every corporates as well, to profile themselves. And we have been of late looking at a lot of enthusiasts getting in this domain, and it's far lesser a barrier to enter this domain as well and excel it. And definitely the entire world needs a lot of guys in this domain, to keep the bad guys out. And I'm 100% sure that more and more people can join this community and do this longer. I'm sure it will be a very good, very tough fight for criminal networks as well. And I'm sure you guys will be good at it. But again, let me just final. I think we are at 4. But yeah, let me. And also, just one more important thing is, we also have something called SL-Links, Social Links Crime Wall. It has a very interesting thing. The moment you give a username, it can list you all the associated social accounts and the corresponding information as well. Like for instance, what you're seeing here. You'll get all the social accounts, including their locations, profiling, and further trims down. See, everyone pretty much follows the same approach, how the pivoting happens, what are the classes, what are the, that structure. Probably someone uses a different visualization, someone uses a different set of methodologies, but essentially it's the same. You take the initial pivot points, and there are varied number of tools. Whatever you learn at DEFCON also, everything will be of use in some or other pivoting mechanism that you will be using as part of OSINT, and you will be able to also relate more whenever you are seeing any sort of new tool in how it fits in your pivoting workflow as well. And it has been very useful in most of the investigations, because it has automated, it has brought down the turnaround time, and also brought down in the way in which we put the deterrence into this entire suspects. So this is just a bit case on the Douglas-Chan de-anonymization case. Yeah, this is how typically that looks like: username, email addresses, and then you pivot towards a real name of who that person belongs to. And this OSINT industries you have already seen. Yeah, you also have this Facebook checker. If similarly how Instagram thing is there, similarly there is also if you give some kind of input to this, it will check whether if there is a email associated with it, and also if there is an account existing with that particular username as well. And similarly, Telegram phone number checker, and you have Holehe. It's very amazing tool as well. and you just give a particular mail ID, and it gives you all the listed accounts, which actually essentially, if you see, OSINT Industries in a way is partly part of that is also fed by this Horehe tool. It's very good GitHub a free tool. You can just give a mail ID and it will list down all the associated social accounts and domains. And similarly, these are other various tools, but in the interest of time, I'm just skipping through that, just a mention of it. And you have webcheck.xyz, you give a domain, it will give a complete skeleton of entire information of these. Also a complete GitHub hosted thing. You can also self-host in your in your own domain as well for do any kind of URL analysis. And then there's just URL scan, GeoSpy. Of course, I think our guys have done the GeoGuessr a workshop as well, and one of the thing GeoGuessr competition. So GeoSpy is that you give a image and it will identify where that place is, and exactly, and those guys are it's a free, you can use that tool on your own as well. It identifies exact location of that particular image in an automated fashion, and what that does is essentially it is doing that reverse image search and identifying most accurately as much as it can. So in fact, one of my colleague also has tried his own account to just identify where he is and all that. So these are some of the tools. Of course, there is n number of tools for this, but the only thing is I just wanted to highlight is these have been of real help in the investigation process. But the core point still remains is how and what you want to pivot. When do you make that clarion call of whether to pivot or not, on which identifier, right? So so these are some visualization tools I was talking about, as OSINT tracker, and you have Yoga, which is your own online graphic analyzer, your OSINT and Cosmograph, Trickest, and Obsidian. Yep. And these are all some other things on terms of automated investigations, which we have seen anyway. But as I said, integrating OSINT with other disciplines is quite a lot in terms of helpful when you are actually doing this. For example, if you have a habit of collecting all the breach databases or different kinds of data, so that also will help you in the pivoting process. And similarly, the same thing happens in this thing. So these are some of the things which typically LEAs gather. If I think someone has asked about it, but of course there are ethical and legal considerations for all of this, because it is a lot of power in hands of everyone. So definitely it has its own demerits and also merits, but at the end of the day, I leave it up to you guys. You are all adults and you know what your guys are doing. So I mean, a lot of emerging things we are seeing in this as well, but I'll leave it up to you. Any questions, please, so far? Yeah. So I'll share this presentation to everyone, yes. That's what you asked? Sorry? Oh, you did sign up? Oh, I'll do one thing. Okay. You can do one thing. You can just message me on or mail me. cybersquad@pm.me is the mail ID which you can. I hope it is not visible, but okay, sorry. Yeah. I'll put it in the initial doc as well, but let me just. Yeah, you can just mail to this mail ID. So I'll provide you with access to the presentation, and as well as and also there is something called forensic OSINT. Is one more tool whenever you are doing OSINT, it automatically has to have a forensic value or evidentiary value, right? So for that, that is one more tool. So probably what we can do is I'll share with you this couple of this presentation, and also ways in which you can sign up and get some free credits so that you can try all this on your own as well. So any doubts, anytime, you can just reach out to this email ID. And I would love to have more and more community guys working on this particular domain. And it's all for, I'm sure, any hand is a great hand here. And I'll be really amazed at, you will also be amazed at how much of, fraudulent activity there is happening in the online internet right now. And I hope I am really helpful in this particular process with all of you guys. And thanks a lot for patiently listening to me. And hope I didn't bore you guys. If any kind of suggestions and all, I'm here to help. Thank you.